Good afternoon on this election day. I will call to order the board workshop for the school board of Manatee County. I don't think we have any agenda amendments. Is there any from the board members? Hearing none. All right. Today's workshop, primarily we're going to be dealing with the capital budget presentation from our CFO, Heather Jenkins. That will be followed by a sort of status report on our enterprise resource planning implementation and next steps. Madam Vice Chair, do we have any public comments?
Mr. Blitzko, come on down.
There are two items on the agenda for today. The capital budget, the ERP plan. As I opened up the email and looked at the agenda, there's a listing of the two items, but there are no attachments. There are no reports attached for either of them. Then I walk into the meeting today and I get this. I assume this is what's going to be talked about at the capital budget, but I have my reading glasses on and I can't read these. Whatever happened to the 7-day in advance posting on the agenda of any reports? Nobody, no taxpayer or anybody else has had an opportunity to read this. No taxpayer has had an opportunity to know what Ms. Saunders is going to talk about on the ERP. And that's all I have to say. I'll probably have some more to say about the ERP in the future, but I will defer to hearing Ms. Saunders' comments today and not make assumptions like other people have made and other things have been put into the newspaper. Thank you.
All right. Moving right along. Chief Financial Officer Heather Jenkins for the capital budget presentation. Come on down.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Today we're going to talk about our tentative 5-year capital plan and our capital budget. First, we're going to start with the fiscal year 2018 recap. Oh, sorry. We added a microphone. Our beginning balance of all sources last year was $182 million. Our district capital taxes was $52 million. Our sales tax came in at $30.6 million. Our impact fees at $13.5 million. Proceeds from capital leases were $665,000. Proceeds from property tax, $3,321,685, and then other funding was $6.1 million, totaling $288,518,294. With that funding, we spent $60 million on school and facility projects, $19.7 million on maintenance and repairs, $18.4 million on technology projects, $2.6 million on equipment and buses, $18.4 was in transfers, $39.9, yes, sir.
Just a second. Go ahead. Ms. Cologne? No.
Those are transfers to the general fund and transfers to debt service for payment of our debt service.
I just want everybody to know what you mean by it.
Thank you, sir. and bringing our total appropriations to 159 million.
Just a second, Heather.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so you mentioned the transfers were transfers to the general fund and for debt service. So some of those transfers were for debt service, plus we have a debt service line?
Yes, let me verify with our general maintenance. They're for general maintenance. We can
Okay.
get you the detail on
Okay, so
those
we
if
had
you'd like
maintenance
that.
and repairs of nearly 20 million, and then we had transfers of additional general maintenance for 18 million?
There are certain items, special school maintenance is one of them, that are budgeted in the general fund because of the object codes,
Okay.
and the way they're paid, and
The
then the
J.D.
transfer's
Edwards,
done
okay,
after the fact.
all right, thank you.
For 2019, our tentative capital plan is as follows. You can see the comparison for what we spent in actuals for 17-18 versus what we have in 18-19. You'll notice that the total of 288 million for 17-18 is less than, or is more than our 18-19 projected. That's because of our funding, our sales tax bonds, and we're spending those down. For ad valorem taxes, our revenue is estimated to be up 7% from 52 million to 55.9. Our capital outlay and debt service is relatively flat from 413,000 to 415,000. Interest is down a little bit on our capital outlay and debt service. Our PICO maintenance allocation is exactly the same. Our PICO charter school capital outlay is budgeted at $1 million this year, which is 5% above last year. Sales tax revenue is estimated to be 3% higher. Our impact fee revenue is expected to be 9% lower. Fuel tax, our fuel tax refund is expected to remain flat. Interest, we have budgeted at $1 million currently. We don't have any interfund transfer budgeted. Proceeds from capital leases and actual proceeds from property sales to date is 1.4 million, so we do have that included at this time. And our beginning fund balance is 129 million. Yes, sir.
So, our PICO dollars to our charter schools have increased 5%, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
But our impact fee revenue is down 9%.
Yes,
The,
sir. That's
Sales
a-
tax revenue's only up 3%, but we're budgeting 40% more for the charter school outlay.
That's a
That's-
governed amount.
That's the, this year, the legislature funded PICO for charter schools separately from us, so it's a pass-through, correct?
Correct.
Right. Okay, I want to make sure everybody knows that the charter schools are getting more money, not less.
Yes.
Because they're always screaming we're giving them less money.
And
So-
we've, yes, sir, and to add to that, we've also added a charter school sales tax block grant.
Correct.
That they can apply for, and for the 2 conversion schools, a technology grant, so that they all have additional funding, and that's not a requirement.
Right, to buy new equipment and new
Yes, sir.
technology equipment, right. Well, that needs to be said because they're constantly, you know, I've been out with voters today and they're saying we underfund the charter schools, we give them less money, and really people need to know that we're funding them above what we're required to fund them,
Yes, sir.
okay? Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. This is a graph that depicts the portions that, of our revenue. You can see that the beginning fund balance is our largest portion. Ad valorem taxes are the next at about 24%. Our PICO dollars for charter school capital outlay is about 0.43%. Our PICO maintenance allocation is 0.18%. Our fuel tax revenue is 0.03%. So again, our largest portion is our fund balance. For our 18-19, our tentative capital plan appropriations are as follows. For Bashaw, we have 985 million allocated at this time. Gullett, 1.6 million. Barbara Harvey Elementary School, our new elementary, 22.8 million. Willis Elementary addition, $1,140,000. Witt Elementary renovation and the addition and roof renovation is $11.9 million. Johnson Wakeland K-8 IB conversion, we have $1.7 million. Dr. Mona Jane Middle School, which is our new middle school, at $29 million. North River High School and Fort Hamer Road, $58 million. Manatee High School HVAC roof, chiller, and clinic would be $1.1 million. And then for our support facility projects, the PSC HVAC building and roof replacement is $4.3 million.
A number of these projects look like carryovers, but I thought we were near completion on the PSC. Johnson Wakeland opened, so explain to
There
me
are
how much,
still-
what we,
When we do our capital budget and our 5-year plan, we budget portions within the year. So this is for, as we started construction on our middle schools, our new middle school, our elementary, and our high school, and had some other projects that had to be lifted to the top based on completion timeframes.
right.
This is the work that's remaining to be done on these.
Okay, so the PSC is not completed yet?
It is
Okay.
not.
All right. And then the Manatee High School, the HVAC is still work in progress?
Correct,
Okay. All right, the same thing with Johnson Wakeland?
correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. Perhaps it would be helpful for the board if these projects have been going on for a couple of years, if we could get a sort of a schedule of completion, what was the total project? Because the HVAC project for Manatee High School seems like the never-ending project, because I know the state auditor general audited those construction expenses when they did the operations audit. So maybe if we could just sort of get a snapshot of where those projects are with regards to percent completion, did the scope change? Have there been, project amendments that we may not remember from a
Yes, sir.
board perspective?
We'll get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr.
What
Klein.
might also be helpful is if it's gonna be over a period of years, to put that down on it, so that we know that it's carried over from this year to next year, the timeline. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Most certainly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other projects that we have listed are uninsured property losses.
Hold on, Mr. Minor has a question or a comment.
Okay. We have a 5-year capital plan, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And my question is directed to inquiry. And when we have this 5-year plan, don't we have it broken down with the amount we're going to be giving to the various projects?
We do. I don't have the detail in this presentation with
Right.
me, but that's what we will provide that to you.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, I think we've already seen a lot of what was being requested. And as far as the money, what we're going to be doing in these capital projects, or at least our best estimate as when we made the 5-year plan. Isn't that correct?
It's, yes, sir. Sometimes it's shown at a high level. We do have all the detail. And like I said, I'll bring it back in detail for the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our, back to our other projects that we were looking at, you'll see that we have countywide roof replacement. These are for all our roof replacement projects that our Division of Maintenance is taking care of. We have HVAC, and DMO is our maintenance, Division of Maintenance Operations, and DCS is our construction services. So you'll see that we have our new roofing replacement construction work, and then we have our small maintenance. So that will explain those two breakdowns to you. We have improvement projects, safety, flooring, fencing, parking, electrical, painting, fire alarm. These are our maintenance and construction schedules district-wide. We also have our countywide technology projects. We have instructional technology projects, music equipment, band uniforms, which are capitalized, our school FF&E, equipment, administrative FF&E. FF&E is furniture, fixture, and equipment. Buses, special school, and then we'll list our transfers for special school maintenance that we talked about earlier. This is the breakdown of that amount. Our facility project management, general school maintenance, charter school capital outlay PICO and local capital improvement, charter school capital outlay our 1.5 million sales tax, and property insurance.
Just out of curiosity, what kind of things fall under general school maintenance?
They are, the flooring, I believe, they're small dollar items,
Windows.
window repair, anything, a small ticket item.
The wages of those people that do those.
Custodial wages?
Not custodial, but the people that work on the equipment,
Okay.
playground techs, that type of stuff.
But could you repeat that?
Yes, Janet Clausey is our capital accountant, and our resident expert. She's, it's also pays the wages for the maintenance workers that do the work, on the equipment and the buildings.
One thing that will probably be helpful, and it may be on the dashboard that the superintendent is preparing to roll out on the finances, is to, with regards to all these capital projects, to have those on the dashboard so the public can see what's been budgeted to these projects, where they are in the completion, what's being spent this year. So parents and taxpayers can look at, each individual school to see what kind of investment we're making.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Minor?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to the buses, is that 10 new buses, or how is that broken down?
I believe, how many buses did we have this year, Janet?
15 buses?
next year.
Okay. That includes, would it, well, I guess that would, when we, things like new tires and stuff wouldn't come under the capital budget, I guess?
No,
Okay.
sir, those come out of our, we have a vehicle maintenance budget from
Okay.
general funds.
And the other question I had was with respect to the fencing, the $63,000, is that, in any of that come from the special funds that the legislature allocated in response to the tragedy on February 14th?
This particular amount does not, sir. We have a grant opportunity that we are applying for security enhancements, but this is from capital dollars.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cologne?
Excuse me. You would know where we're getting those buses from, because it seems that there's something going on where we're buying buses from two different companies now.
We do. We have always purchased them from two different companies. I am not aware if the order has been placed yet for those buses.
Okay.
I know we have to order them it takes a long time to build them. It takes a while, but I can find out the vendor for you if you'd like me to.
I'm kind of interested, yeah. I'd like to know whether one company is more reasonable than another, whether the parts are easier to get hold of, whether they require shipping, whether we have the mechanics that are trained more in this type than the other type.
We did have a discussion like that with our vehicle maintenance area at one point, and the parts are universal, I believe, for the buses, but again, I'll get all that detail for you. Be happy to.
Well, the reason I ask is because generally Ford parts don't fit on Chevys.
We don't get any Ford or Chevys.
Well, Mr. Minor, different cars take different parts, that's what I mean, okay?
I was just, I don't
Yeah, I
think we
know.
have any Ford or Chevy buses. I think they're International or Thomas. We used to have
Yeah.
Blue Boy or something like that.
And we have Bluebirds too. I believe.
Bluebirds, yeah.
Okay. For our debt service, these are the amounts we have budgeted. Sales tax revenue bond, our Series 2017, our newest, is 12.5 million. Our lease purchase bond, Series 2007, 3.2. Lease purchase bond 2009, 952. Our Series 2011 is 2.3. Series 2015, 1.3. Lease purchase bond Series 2016, 1.8. Lease purchase bond Series 2017, 6.9. Our qualified school construction bond, you'll see that listed as QSKIB. Series 2010, we have 761,000. Our qualified zone academy bond, Series 2004, we have 80,205. Our Series 2005 qualified zone academy bond is 69,116. And reserved for future school projects, we have 9.2 million.
Mr. Minor?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I wonder if in future years, if you could include the interest we're paying, the interest rate, I should say, on these bonds. If, for instance, the 2007 bond that's something like 2.5% rate or something like that.
I can most definitely get you that information.
If we were on here, I know our advisors are always kind of, feeling the bond market to see if it would be worthwhile the expense, to refund or not refund, refinance,
Right.
bonds to lower the rates. And
There
I
have,
think they've done a pretty good job.
there have been some changes in the laws that we are unable to refund a lot of we're able to do advanced refunding like we were in the past. We can still do refunding, but we have to weigh out our interest rates and how it affects our
The discount that
yeah.
was paid in the beginning and things like that. It may be helpful to, both list the rate that Mr. Minor's asking for, but then, list the discount when they were issued and what that effective rate is, and probably, I would think towards the end of the calendar year, we could probably use a workshop just on our debt, so that the board can better understand where we are in our debt, what options are available to either restructure it, and it may be that we can sit down and talk about it, but I think we should probably look towards the end of the calendar year to put together a workshop really just around our debt service and our debt structure. And
Yes, we can definitely have our financial advisors will be here when we do our TAN.
okay,
And they're going to give a little bit of information about our standing. And also, we can have them come back to do an in-depth workshop. And our investment advisor, we've talked to him as well. So
Okay.
we can put all that together.
perfect, thank you. Mr. Kennedy?
Heather, we've talked about this previous years. I'm just curious where we are as a snapshot now, but I'm looking at our total capital revenue is $288 million. Our total debt is $233 million. My calculator is right, that's about 81%. Is
We-
that,
Not the total debt, I think that's the total on the capital
Total on
plan.
our payment,
or capital?
right.
So I'm comparing apples to apples, like this is our capital budget, this is our capital plan debt. So are we in debt-wise, is this red, is this yellow, is it normal?
We're in an excellent position debt-wise. I spoke with our financial advisors about a month and a half ago, and at that point, we could generate about $388 million in new COPS funding based on our standing. Our district credit rating has actually increased since I received these numbers, so we're stronger than we were then,
Yep.
which will give us a better rate and actually maybe an increased capacity. We can generate about $257 million is what we can borrow on our sales tax funding. So altogether, we're, almost $700 million if we needed it, which is vastly different than where we were
Yeah, we're
several
like at
years ago.
50% of our debt capacity.
Okay, yeah, just want to get that full picture out. Thank you, Heather.
We don't want to take on any more, but we're
No,
moving in the
but
right
it's-
direction.
Right, we could if we had to.
Yeah, it's nice to know we have a credit line. but-
Also,
Mr.
along
Clum.
those lines, I think that it might help. I know that some of the bonds we issued cannot be refinanced because they're non-callable.
Yes.
Because I talked to the financial advisors about that and wanted to know why they were issuing non-callable bonds, because I like to be able to call them whenever possible. If it is in our benefit, I'd like to know the maturity of all our bonds. Unless these are the maturities that you're listing here with these, I believe these are the years of issuance. So I'd like to know the maturities as well.
Okay, I think
This way we can ascertain exactly where we are on the chain.
We have a little bit more detail in our debt service section too, and then
Okay.
I will get you,
Fine.
Right.
anything else?
Well, if,
Yes, sir.
you know, you don't have time, I can,
Oh, no, we'll put it all together for you. So forgive me for taking notes. I want to make sure
No,
we
no, no.
get
No, I appreciate it.
everything you've asked for.
We should have had somebody here to take notes for you.
I do. I'm just a, I like to write
she
it
likes to
myself
do it
too.
herself.
We have, here our 2019 tentative capital plan. This is just our pie chart to again show you, the distribution, and you can see that our new projects are over half of our funding. We've included a picture of our North River High School site. There. We've also included a picture of Barbara Harvey Elementary School. We just wanted you to see the locations and see the progress. And then our Dr. Mona Jane Middle School site.
Would this be a good time to talk about the Copperstone entrance?
Yeah, it's perfect time.
Doesn't
Mr.
look
Kennedy.
bad from this view, does it? No, we'll pass on that this week.
As Mr. Minor had talked about earlier, here's our tentative 5-year capital plan. You can see what we have budgeted in revenues, our estimated revenues from 2018-19 out to 2022-23. We go, it is showing a decrease, but again, that's because we are spending down our beginning balance that we've started with now. Our appropriations are increasing construction project maintenance and repairs, equipment, buses, uninsured property losses. You can see our plan and our trend there. The bulk of our construction projects will be completed this year. And as we move along, at this time, we don't have any future construction projects, but that could change with enrollment and based on the standing of our county.
Okay, so it looks good. So, I mean, basically, we're, we're on course to have adequate, well, we don't know yet, but we're on course in building capacity with regards to our reserves, our debt capacity. So it looks pretty strong. Thank you.
You're welcome. And since we talked about transfers, there's an asterisk under transfers that includes our charter school capital outlay in that amount,
Okay.
just to point out. Our tentative 5-year plan broken down again, revenues by source. This is just the breakdown for you to see a side-by-side of how we have it budgeted. Again, our school and facility projects is the largest dollar amount. For our revenues, our beginning fund balance, district capital taxes, and sales tax are our predominant generators, followed by our impact fees. A chart, pie graph, just again so you can see our capital tax millage of our new revenue that we're generating is 46%, sales tax at 24%, impact fees at 9%. Total expenditures, we have 18% in reserve. Our school and facility projects are at 31%, debt service at 20%, followed by maintenance and repairs. We have recently done a comprehensive facility assessment. That's to determine our repair, renovation, and construction needs. The study is of our 8+ million square feet of facilities broken down into 3 groups and phases. Construction services is taking care of this. We have posted our required legal advertisements on July 8th, 15th, and 22nd. The request for quotation was due on 8/1. 10 submissions were received, all 10 met requirements, and construction services convened the selection committee and shortlisted the firms that will be going through the selection process. We hope to have an update for the board in the September meetings.
Okay, one question on that. When we had our, and I'm going to be careful here, when we had our executive session around security, there was a discussion and there was a question with regards to this procurement and whether it included from a comprehensive perspective all of those components in the legislation around school safety. I will tell you that I heard from a few folks that reviewed it that they did not feel, those that were responding, that that was included in that procurement. So I'll follow up, and then when we have the meeting, I would like to have a summary with regards to those firms and their responses specifically around the school hardening covered in the legislation with regards to the fences and changing out glass and all those sorts of things. Because the impression I got, and when I reviewed it, I did not see what I was looking for, which was a pretty detailed response from these various engineering firms, because I don't think we asked the question.
Okay. I will find out for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
and since that material, excuse me, is related to security, you can keep it confidential.
Okay.
When it's passed out.
Okay. So we may need to do that, in another executive session. But I really want to make sure that we've integrated that aspect of our needs with this sort of global procurement for all of our maintenance services
Okay.
around this.
Definitely. We're going to move on to our debt service fund. Debt service is used to repay our long-term debt of the school district. It's currently compiled of SBE bonds, which are held and operated by the state. Our certificate of participation, you'll hear us refer to those as COPS, and our sales tax revenue bonds. So our estimated revenues, the largest amount is from capital projects. Our estimated expenditures, you'll see our redemption of principal, dues and fees, fund balance held for future payments, and our interest. In our debt service fund, our beginning fund balance is listed as $10 million. Federal and state sources at $938. Capital outlay and debt service withheld from our SBE and Kobe bonds is $666,000. Incoming transfers from capital projects to pay our debt is $30 million, leading our total budgeted revenue to $41.6 million. So our expenditures, $19.6 million of that goes to redemption of principal, almost $12 million to interest, $17,687 in dues and fees, and then we hold $10 million in our fund balance for future principal payments. This is our outstanding debt as of right now, and it does have our maturity dates, Mr. Cologne. I couldn't remember if we had that column in there, I apologize. It lists our SBE bonds, our original amount issued, our maturity date, the outstanding principal, our outstanding interest, and our totals. So we can add our percentage to this, and then we can add to this to give you all the information that you want in a chart. So total, we have $373,433,814 in outstanding debt. We began with $442,491,454. So as you can see, we are paying that debt down.
And so it also looks like we're going to be retiring a good bit of debt over the course of the next fiscal year, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Because we don't know the months, but
2019.
okay. Again, that looks pretty strong.
Yes,
Good.
sir. We have one in 18 and 3.
Right. We got a few in
2019.
2019, so that's good. Couple, I guess.
This is our, the next slide shows our schedule of debt service payments. Shows our in 18-19 that we paid out $20 million in principal and $11 million in interest. In 19-20, it'll be $19.2 million in principal and $10 in interest, and you can see it out to our schedule. When we get down to 2032-33, our interest is decreasing as we pay off the principal. Here we have that in a pictorial view for you. our scheduled debt service payments in a chart. So, from that, do you all have any additional questions or information that you would like us to compile for you?
Members, any additional questions, comments? Vice Chair Messenger.
No, only to echo that I agree with you that if we can add to the dashboard, the information about the different large projects that are happening and where the money's going, I think that'd be a really great thing. And I think that was kind of already in the plan anyway.
Right.
so-
But still, I like having each project.
Yeah, by
listed
project.
separately. I don't know that we would have done that, so I think that's a good
Yeah,
suggestion.
Yeah,
I
and
think
the-
that'd be really
People can
nice for
follow
people.
it along.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and the progression. And then you might want to ask our financial advisors if they could do a comparative sort of presentation so we can let the public know with regards to our debt service trends, our payment on principal, sort of compared to what the, maybe the state average and maybe a peer group. Because I suspect, just in looking at it, that we're definitely moving in the right direction, and we're probably in a pretty strong position compared to other school districts in the state.
Will do. most
Okay, thank
certainly.
you. Nice job.
Thank you. I want to thank Janet and Monica and
Yeah,
all
thank
the
you
other
to
ladies
everyone.
in
No,
finance.
this was
They did a great
very
job.
informative and concise. We really appreciate it. Nice job to Superintendent and her team. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
All right. Superintendent Saunders for our infamous ERP project.
We have a document being handed out, so I'll wait till you receive it.
Thank you.
Do you want me to wait till Mr. Minor comes back? He's coming right back,
Okay.
maybe. Okay. I just wanted to make all aware of kind of where we are on the status. I know it's been in the news of late, so I wanted to give you the next steps of what we're doing and what our findings are. As noted, last week was the end date of Cyber, the vendor that's been working on our project. Their contract ended. Since then, the gentleman, George Kosmak, the representative that I contracted with through FADS to come and do an evaluation, has been able to come and assist the district on a contract basis to help ensure the remainder of the ERP process is done to fidelity and implemented correctly. So he has joined us as of Monday, and Agitech, who was the maintenance provider, is also going through and continuing to look into our PeopleSoft implementation to go over the defects and to see if any modules have yet to be completed. In addition, Cyber has reached out, the president and the vice president has reached out to the board chair as well as myself, and they're eager to come meet with us because they would like the project to have finished, accurately, completely. It does not serve their business well for us not to be able to have invested the amount of money that we have with them and the software not work as intended. We are in the process of trying to work out a meeting, but we haven't got all the logistics set on that. I did provide a list of the defects in the IT log so that you could see the things that have been documented, and as our contract read, if we discovered any defects by the end of their contract date, they are responsible for corrections. So they have been working on them. And the expectation is the things that they had been made aware of by the 24th, they will fulfill. However, I will state that some bugs have occurred since then. Some modules have not yet been completely finished. And that's what we're trying to come up with at this time. So I do have a number of folks investigating that. Again, George, Cosmec, Agitech, the outside vendor of the maintenance provider, as well as cyber, so that we can determine what part is really their responsibility of completion, what part is now the district's responsibility of completion, and if it is ours, what does that mean? What does it look like? What is an appropriate timeline so that we can ensure everything is finished? I will tell you that I should have a summary by Friday of the expectation. I have a plan A and a plan B, and I will know how I'm going to execute things to move forward after I give the vendor as well as our outside provider an opportunity to give me their assessment. I will tell you, the schools are being very patient. They know that we're addressing things. Many of our complications, unfortunately, revolve around Heather's department. And I know that was the intent of changing our system to a new software current application so that we are able to provide a smoother, easier, more transparent financial outcomes. But I do think the software in and of itself is not the problem. We just do not have all the modules completely vetted, functioning, or completed at this time. Our biggest difficulty is with internal accounts, some P cards, year-end reconciliation, month-end reconciliation. I did provide each of you, I believe, last week with an end-user document. I believe it was 21 pages that gave the perspective of the difficulties that they're seeing. Now, some of which of that is end-user error or training. So it's not all the systems issue, but you know, we do have a few bugs. Mr. Minor's going to help me fix them.
And members, any questions or comments? I have, and it may be in Ms. Jenkins' area. I've become aware that there is, because we didn't run parallel systems, because we weren't prepared to use the older system until this was sort of operating, it's my understanding that, for example, at MTC, where a lot of the technical programs, they order parts on a regular basis, you know, raw materials, metals, and things like that. And I think they're experiencing pretty substantial delays because they're not able to go through the system to do those orders. And from what I understand, they're having to go through 3 or 4 different steps, and then they're still not getting the orders and getting them in. So if I guess the question is, have we implemented a sort of streamlined alternative process for ordering these materials? Because if these students don't have parts, whether it's marine repair or auto repair, and if the welders don't have raw materials, their education is going to slow down. And so while I think the instructors are being tolerant at this point, if we don't get that resolved in a short period of time, we're going to have a number of students that are behind in their progress if they can't get these materials ordered and get them delivered. And so I don't know what the fix is, but it goes beyond paper. I mean, these are, you know, and there's a lead time on a lot of these materials.
Yes, sir. I can't speak to those specific materials, but we are having difficulties with purchasing district-wide. So we've been addressing each situation individually, ensuring that we can purchase the materials needed to continue our education. So we will we will continue to move forward and take what steps that are necessary to make sure our students have their materials.
Okay, yeah, and I guess just one suggestion, because we have probably many different categories of materials, and I know some of these are pretty expensive, parts. And most of them are unique, because when they bring in an engine or whatever, it's not like a routine purchase. They need to be able to go in, look at the part number, hit the vendor, order it, and then, it can be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks delay just because of how long it takes to get that part manufactured. And so if we're delayed, too much. So maybe, follow up with them, maybe Mr. Wagner can help or something, but just with regards to that uniqueness, because it's not, an order which goes to all the schools, it's more specialized.
Unfortunately, it's a common problem.
Okay.
It's not just an MTC. But we were in a meeting about it right before with the team. Mr. Wagner was in it to discuss what are we going to do in the short term to make sure that we're getting the necessary items processed and ordered until we're able to, resolve some of the software issues. So, again, we do appreciate everyone's patience and communication. I get emails almost daily. But it really is a good thing, because if we don't know the specific problems, we can't get on them immediately.
Right.
So as soon as we are made aware, we definitely are addressing it, as well as we did Friday with paychecks. If there were mistakes or issues there, as soon as we were told, we hit it, we cut paper checks, we hand-delivered or called folks. So, it's a new system. We knew we were going to have a few challenges, but we have a great team of people that are identifying those challenges and working out solutions. And I can assure you, we will have a solid plan after Friday of our next step. But I should have enough information this week on the totality of what's finished, what isn't, what is going to be cyber's responsibility, or what are we going to address ourselves.
And I know you've been working hard, because I saw your vehicle in the parking lot at like 10 o'clock last night. So we appreciate it. And these are complex, implementations. And I think just the what's important is, as you mentioned, that the staff in a constructive way let the superintendent and her folks know, where problems exist, because it's going to be an ongoing. And if she's not aware of an issue because you think it's going to go away, it's better for the superintendent and your, whoever you report to be aware that you've identified either a glitch or an aberration, so that it can go on this list, so it can be addressed while we have the resources in place. So, thank you, members. Mr. Kennedy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Ms. Saunders, I just have a couple questions. You said for the next steps that are labeled August 31st, completed defect log, excuse me. So those 3 steps on the 31st, when you say those should be ready next week, that is a week following?
No, it's
the
this
31st?
Friday. I will know what they have completed on their defect log and what is remaining, and if they are going to incur the responsibility of fixing those items, or if not. And then additional next steps in terms of if there is going to be a remaining cost of what we need to do for those corrections. Now, the cost does not necessarily mean it goes to cyber. And we do have remaining invoices withheld of payment. So it is in their best interest to fulfill the obligation of the contract and to fix anything that they are responsible for.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so I'm hoping we'll have some solution by Friday.
Okay, by Friday. And then you'll communicate that with us?
I will
by
communicate
the
with
weekend?
each of you
Okay.
by the weekend, probably by phone as well as email.
Okay, great. And Mr. Chair, one more thing too.
Yes.
I just want to take a second to commend the superintendent and her staff for the speedy response, and to our teachers and school-based employees, because considering what we're going through, in my opinion, we've seen not only a helping hand, kind of people getting things to us that they have encountered on the school-based side, but also their patience with the district as a whole and with the school support center and trying to support them. So, there's some squeaky wheels out there, of course, but for the most part, I think our people out in the schools have been very patient, considering what they're going through, and we're really, in my view, despite the obstacles we've encountered, and some of them are big ones, the team is staying together and working well through it. So I just want to commend this, our SSC staff and also our school-based staff.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Thank
Kennedy.
you.
Mr. Clem?
I would also like to thank the superintendent and his staff. You've got a lot more patience than I do. Let me put it that way, because I'm too through with this. So thank you very much. That's why I'm keeping my mouth pretty shut.
Thank you. Well, everyone has been, but we really do appreciate giving specific details, because as patient and tolerant as they are and understanding, there is a point where they've got to have a solution of how to have the parts or the materials or the books, et cetera. So, just like you had mentioned before, where I said, if you have to get in your car and pick up the toilet paper and take it, we have to find solutions to make sure that they have what they need. And, that's what the team is working on. And each situation is a little bit different. But every day we're coming up with solutions until we get the process fixed.
Thank you. And to all of our staff at every level, what the superintendent has been working on, and she's truly exemplified that level of leadership, is all of us up here, all of us in this building, in the professional support center. I mean, we're here to provide the support to the educators in the classroom. And so we're working on a true customer service orientation to get the job done. And these transitions are difficult. An IT system overhaul rarely goes smoothly. I think my company, we've only done one or two, but that have gone pretty well. The rest of them, there are challenges, especially when you're replacing both a way of doing business that was started about 20, 25 years ago, but also all that hardware and software, which has just not kept up with the growth in the county. So bear with us, but hopefully you're seeing a very different approach to the administration providing support solutions, and a customer service orientation, and that means that sometimes people in this building are here till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night to ensure that the educators in the classroom have the support that you need to continue the progress that we've been making academically. So with that, unless there are any other comments, we will adjourn the workshop. We will see everyone back here at 5:45. If you haven't voted, you have time to run out and vote before we reconvene. We stand adjourned. Thank you.